know thyself. For centuries, these two words, etched into the temple of Apollo at Delphi and famously embraced by Sócrates, have echoed through human thought, a timeless challenge to every soul. Yet, in our bustling, hyper-connected world, where information floods our senses and external demands clamor for attention, what does it truly mean to know oneself? Is it merely a list of preferences, accomplishments, or roles? Or does it point to something far deeper, a core essence often obscured by the very instrument of perception, our own mind? Consider the intricate labyrinth of your inner world. Every day, a ceaseless stream of thoughts, emotions, and desires courses through you. We navigate this internal landscape, believing it to be the authentic self. We identify with our opinions, our anxieties, our aspirations, as if they are the undisputed markers of identity. But what if this mental landscape, for all its vividness and conviction, is not entirely what it seems? What if, woven into its very fabric, are subtle distortions, fictions, and ingrained patterns that masquerade as truth? This is not to suggest a grand conspiracy or deception, but rather to invite a radical introspection into the nature of our own consciousness. We are often unaware of the filters of reality, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and why we act as we do. These narratives, though comforting, can become prisons, preventing us from encountering the raw truth of our being. They are the illusions of the mind, not malicious lies, but habitual thought patterns, inherited beliefs, and conditioned responses that, over time, solidify into a seemingly impenetrable self-concept. Think of the moments when you felt a disconnect, a nagging sense of unease, a yearning for clarity despite outward success, or the unsettling realization of a life dictated by expectation rather than inner calling. These are not failures of character. They are whispers from a deeper part of you, signaling surface narratives no longer suffice. They hint at a profound, unexamined territory beneath conscious clamor, a quiet space where authentic selfhood resides, waiting to be rediscovered. The journey we embark upon is not about acquiring new information, but about unlearning, about shedding layers of what we think we know. It is an invitation to peer beyond the immediate, often reactive chatter of the mind and to question its pronouncements with gentle skepticism. What if many of our deeply held beliefs about who we are, our strengths, our weaknesses, our very purpose, are not innate truths but rather elaborate constructions built upon shifting sands of experience? This exploration demands a certain courage, for it means confronting the possibility that the self we have so carefully curated might be, in part, a magnificent illusion. But in this confrontation lies immense liberation. To truly know oneself means to distinguish between fleeting constructs and enduring essence, to separate the noise from the signal. It is a quest not for a definitive answer, but for an ongoing, dynamic relationship with our most intimate and mysterious existence. This path, though challenging, promises a profound awakening, a return to a deeper, more authentic way of being in the world. At the heart of this inquiry lies the distinction between the mind's ceaseless activity and the quiet space of observing awareness. Our minds, in their relentless effort to make sense of the world, constantly name, define, and evaluate. This fundamental cognitive function forms the scaffolding of what we understand as the ego, our acquired identity, a collection of personal history, beliefs, preferences, and roles. The ego is the mental apparatus constructing the I, a coherent narrative woven from past experiences and future aspirations. This I feels intensely real, a solid core around which our existence revolves, yet reveals itself as a dynamic, ever-evolving construct, a sophisticated internal spokesperson for our perceived self. This constructed self, however, becomes a source of internal struggle when mistaken for our entire being. We deeply identify with its triumphs, failures, opinions, and anxieties. When circumstances challenge this carefully built persona, we experience suffering, not because our true essence is threatened, but because the mental edifice feels unstable. Consider how we often define ourselves by achievements or relationships. When these external markers shift, profound loss or disorientation can emerge, indicating a fundamental confusion, conflating a transient, mentally generated identity with an unchanging, deeper self. Such identification subtly yet powerfully binds our worth to the ever-shifting sands of external validation and internal monologue. In stark contrast to this fluctuating ego identity stands pure awareness, or witnessing consciousness, the very ground of our being. This is not another thought, feeling, or personality trait. Instead, it is the silent, ever-present capacity to observe all mental phenomena without judgment or attachment. Picture it as the boundless sky, with thoughts as passing clouds. They come and go, but the sky remains vast and unaffected. This pure awareness is the space in which all mental activity unfolds. The knower prior to what is known, the seer perceiving without limitation. It is the eye that endures when all stories, roles, and labels are temporarily set aside, revealing a fundamental stillness and presence that transcends the personal narrative. Recognizing this profound distinction is the cornerstone of inner truth. The ego, by its nature, thrives on differentiation, comparison, and constant striving, perpetually seeking external validation or internal control. Pure awareness, conversely, requires nothing. It simply is. It is complete in itself, an inherent state of peace and clarity, independent of conditions. The challenge, therefore, is not to eliminate the ego, for it serves a functional purpose, but to cease identifying exclusively with it. To recognize that while the ego performs necessary functions, it is merely a tool, a vehicle, not the ultimate driver or true essence. This shift fundamentally alters our relationship with thoughts and emotions, transforming them from masters to mere observed phenomena. Consequently, much human suffering stems from this misidentification, mistaking the actor for the stage, the wave for the ocean, or the fleeting image for the screen. Deeply enmeshed in the ego's narrative, our happiness becomes conditional, our peace fragile, and our sense of self vulnerable to life's vicissitudes. The search for inner truth, then, is not about finding a new identity, but about disidentifying from the unconsciously adopted one. It is a process of unmasking, gently peeling back layers of accumulated mental debris to reveal the luminous presence always there, beneath surface clamor. This journey invites us to cultivate a discerning gaze, distinguishing between mental constructs and the underlying consciousness that perceives them. This conceptual understanding paves the way for a practical shift in living. Accessing this inner truth involves a profound reorientation of attention, not intellectual prowess. It means learning to observe the mind's machinations without getting entangled, much like watching a play without joining the drama. It is recognizing that the I observing your thoughts is distinct from the I having those thoughts. This subtle yet revolutionary distinction is the gateway to a deeper, more resilient sense of self, rooted not in the transient world of form and thought, but in the timeless realm of pure awareness. This ongoing practice illuminates the path to freedom from the mind's compelling, yet often restrictive illusions. We have journeyed into the subtle architecture of selfhood, probing the very fabric of our perception. This exploration has, perhaps, begun to illuminate the intricate dance between what we experience as ourselves and the deeper substratum that simply is. The initial disquietude, the gnawing sense that our internal landscape might harbor more than meets the eye, gives way to a nascent understanding. It's akin to emerging from a dense fog where familiar landmarks were obscured into a clearing where outlines begin to sharpen, and the underlying terrain reveals itself with greater definition. The persistent internal monologue, once an unquestioned companion, now appears in a new light, not as the ultimate arbiter of truth, but as one voice among many, often colored by echoes of the past and projections of the future, subtly shaping our reality. This nascent clarity invites us to consider the profound implications of seeing beyond the immediate mental horizon. This discernment, the subtle separation of the observer from the observed, carries profound implications beyond mere intellectual recognition. It's a shift in perspective that reconfigures our relationship with our own mental and emotional states. Where once we were inextricably bound to every fleeting thought and sensation, swept along by their currents, a different possibility now unfurls. We begin to sense a spaciousness, an unconditioned ground beneath the constant flux of mental activity. This isn't about eradicating the mind's functions, but rather about re-establishing a more harmonious hierarchy, allowing the deeper wisdom to guide, rather than being perpetually reactive to the surface chatter. The elaborate narratives of identity we unconsciously weave, while serving a purpose in navigating the external world, need not define the entire expanse of our inner being, nor dictate our ultimate sense of worth. This realization fosters an internal detachment, not of apathy, but of profound insight. The cumulative effect of this unfolding awareness is a subtle yet seismic recalibration of our lived experience. It speaks to a liberation from the tyranny of unexamined assumptions about who we are and what we are capable of. When the self is no longer rigidly equated with its transient mental manifestations, a profound sense of freedom can emerge. This freedom isn't an escape from reality, but an embrace of it, stripped of the layers of interpretive distortion. It allows for a more authentic engagement with the world, one not solely dictated by the ego's ingrained patterns of defense or desire, but informed by a deeper, more expansive understanding of self. The relentless pursuit of external validation, or the fear of internal inadequacy, begins to recede, not through forceful suppression, but through a natural shedding as their foundational premise dissolves, revealing a more robust and self-sustaining inner compass. This shift reorients our fundamental posture towards life itself, moving from reaction to conscious response. Reflecting on this journey so far, it becomes clear that the quest for inner truth is not a destination to be reached, but a continuous unfolding, a deepening relationship with the very core of our existence. It's a process of gentle excavation, unearthing the authentic from beneath layers of accumulated belief and conditioning. The initial spark of Socratic inquiry evolves into a sustained inner gaze, a willingness to remain present with the nuances of our internal experience. This ongoing engagement fosters a resilience, a quiet strength that arises from a self-knowledge rooted in something far more enduring than the fleeting narratives of the mind. It's like discovering the deep, silent current beneath the choppy surface of a river. The true power and direction are found in that stillness. As we stand at this precipice of deeper understanding, the path ahead invites a final, profound contemplation, one that speaks to the very essence of what it means to truly live in alignment with this rediscovered inner landscape, beyond the confines of mental illusion and into the expansive realm of genuine being. We have journeyed through the intricate landscapes of the mind, prompted by the ancient wisdom to know thyself. This profound imperative, initially a challenge to intellectual understanding, reveals itself not as a quest for a definitive answer, but as an ongoing, transformative process. We have seen how the mind, in its diligent attempt to create order and meaning, constructs elaborate narratives of identity, our ego, our roles, our beliefs. These mental constructs, though often beautiful and functional in navigating the external world, can inadvertently become veils, obscuring the deeper, more expansive truth of our being. The initial unease, the subtle whisper of something more profound, gently guides us beyond the surface clamor, inviting a radical re-evaluation of what we truly are. The synthesis of this exploration lies in recognizing the fundamental distinction between the content of our consciousness and the consciousness itself. It is the profound insight that the self we seek is not found within the ever-shifting stream of thoughts, emotions, and sensations, but rather in the luminous, silent awareness that witnesses them all. This is not an abstract philosophical concept, but an experiential reality, the enduring presence that remains when all mental stories momentarily cease. To truly know oneself, then, is to cultivate this inner gaze, to gently disidentify from the compelling yet transient illusions the mind weaves, and to rest in the unconditioned space of pure awareness. This shift is not about abandoning the mind, but about reestablishing its rightful place as a tool, a magnificent instrument, rather than the ultimate arbiter of our existence. This journey beyond the mind's illusions is a continuous unveiling, a lifelong practice of returning to the sanctuary within. It offers a liberation from the tyranny of unexamined assumptions, from the relentless pursuit of external validation, and from the deep-seated fears that often stem from a misidentification with our fragile, constructed selves. When we begin to recognize the enduring ground of our being, a profound resilience takes root. Life's inevitable challenges still arise, but our relationship to them transforms. We are no longer solely defined by our successes or failures, our joys or sorrows, but by the unwavering presence that observes them all. This is the essence of inner truth, not a static destination, but an active, conscious engagement with the very core of our existence. The true practice begins now, in the quiet moments between thoughts, in the gentle observation of our reactions, in the conscious choice to pause before responding. It is found in the willingness to question, with compassion and curiosity, the narratives we tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. This is not a grand, dramatic overhaul, but a subtle, consistent reorientation of attention, a turning inward, a remembering of the spaciousness that underlies all experience. It is the recognition that the deepest wisdom is not something to be acquired, but something to be uncovered, already residing within us, waiting to be acknowledged. Ultimately, the quest for inner truth is the journey towards authentic freedom. It is the freedom to be unburdened by the constant need to become. It is the freedom to experience life in its raw, unfiltered beauty, without the distorting lenses of past conditioning or future anxieties. To know thyself is to discover that beneath the intricate, often turbulent surface of the mind, there lies an ocean of calm, a boundless awareness that is eternally whole, complete, and at peace. This profound realization is not merely an end to questioning, but the beginning of a life lived from a place of genuine presence, radiating a quiet strength that resonates far beyond the confines of individual thought, connecting us to the universal current of all being. This is the enduring insight, the timeless wisdom that beckons us home,